Grab your brush and put a little makeup.
Just gotta put in my fake eyelashes here.
So, Bird, why did you leave the keys up on the table?
Excuse me? You're making a reference to something and I don't understand it, so... I'm afraid that we're gonna have to drop that one right on the ground.
It's something I've been doing it a few too many times.
Football, and
lately,
sailed over my head
for no good reason. I've been using the lyrics of Chop Suey by System of a Down, but just phrasing them like actual sentences.
That's right. Why'd you leave your keys up on the table? I'm used to hearing that more as, why'd you leave your keys up on the table? Because you wanted to. Wake up!
I usually hear it as
grab your brush and put a little makeup.
That's like the John Cheese lounge singer version of it.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, what is it? I Think You're Crazy, but sung by like that guy with the guitar. Like
wow. Okay. Descriptive.
Well, because it's normally like some sort of funk song or something. And then some guy's like gonna do like it's a really slow acoustic guy song thing. That's a good sentence. I did it.
A slow acoustic guy.
Yeah.
So he's a regular guy, but he's just like, I'm gonna play you a song.
Listen. Hide the scars to fade away the shakeup.
Damn it. How's everyone's Saturday going? Wander, have you set up your stream yet?
My Saturday's great-ish.
Setting it up now. I'm just going to be running around in Zelda, I think, while we podcast.
Of course.
For me, like, Zelda came out yesterday, and I had to get a Switch in the morning, so sleep is not really a thing last night, but aside from the not sleep, I got to see Logan, so it's an alright day so far.
Yeah, good.
Good movie.
Spent my day working.
That's
neither here nor there.
The only way you can tell weekdays from weekends is what kind of work you do.
The best kind of work is the work you don't get paid for, which is what I was working on. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, everyone knows that Let's Playing got way worse when I started getting money for it. That's really that was really the deciding factor. It was perfect before then when I just used up all my time and
got nothing to show for it. Yeah. Word.
So somebody sent me a question that pissed me off already.
Yeah, go for it.
No. Well, let's start the podcast.
No, we're already podcasting.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We already synced it up. I don't know what you've been doing, but we've been talking, so fuck it.
I'm getting shit set up, but
that's fine.
We're recording.
I'm cool with it.
Okay, fine.
I'm cool with it.
We can bullshit for a couple more minutes. Have you heard how these
podcasts end? We might as well start them the same way, which is it just starts.
Yeah, our podcasts end very abruptly when I look and see it's been about 2 hours and somebody says something incredibly awkward.
Some of them don't even have goodbyes. Some of them just have Wander being like, so, what, you guys want to start playing Grim Dawn? And then it cuts out. I'm like, what?
Well, I
guess I'll cut it here.
I mean, the thing is, sometimes we just say something so incredibly awkward that it just should not be responded to.
You mean all of the Resident Evil one? Yeah.
You know, I thought I said great stuff, but I always think that, so.
Yep, sure. That's one way to think about yourself.
Perfection?
Yeah, absolutely. The important thing is that you believe it. And you don't talk to anyone about it, ever. So...
True.
Dargona sent in a message saying, after watching Doctor Strange recently... What's that?
Why is he trying to piss us off?
He's not trying to piss us off, but it's relevant.
But
things that have already pissed us off.
He succeeded. Yes, okay.
So, says, after watching Doctor Strange recently and hearing about Suicide Squad's Oscar controversy, I was curious to hear about your general thoughts on superhero movies, and more specifically, the development of the Marvel and DC cinematic universes. Honestly, I didn't even finish reading the question before I brought it up, because I actually don't care about the question that much. We can get to that later. And more importantly, I had to look up the Suicide Squad thing you mentioned, and found out that Suicide Squad won a fucking Oscar for makeup and hairstyling. And
what?
So now Suicide Squad's an Oscar winner.
But
wow.
But it shouldn't be, because we live in a just universe and there's a god, right?
I can kind of almost understand it, because a lot of people are either doing digital stuff, and there weren't a whole lot of movies this past year that really had hair and makeup that either wasn't digital or wasn't remarkable.
Yeah, I will say that of all the things to give credit to in that movie, perhaps the only one is the makeup. But
did you see Cumberbatch's beard?
Man.
Oh.
Have you seen his Doctor Strange beard? Because, yeah, that's a good hair and makeup, motherfucker.
It's good, I just wouldn't call it noteworthy. And I definitely wouldn't call the weird eye makeup that they put on the villains to be particularly noteworthy either.
They had to shave Tilda Swinton every day.
Dude.
It's just really fucked up that Suicide Squad has an Oscar of any kind.
They had to shave Robert Downey Jr. for that movie, and he wasn't even in it.
Like I get it's one of those whatever Oscars, which is that like it's not about it's an Oscar that has nothing to do with whether the movie was good. It just has to do with like, here's a handshake for the people who were working hard behind the scenes and stuff like that. Like I get it.
Yeah, true.
But man, that sucks to think that it's an Oscar winner.
I won him an Oscar, yeah.
It feels like when that one really terrible stoner comedy about fantasy stuff was all like advertising itself as having Oscar winners as its cast.
Oh, yeah, Harold and Kumar.
No, not quite.
Not anything.
Not quite that one, no. Man,
wow! I just derailed that thought. Anyway, yeah. So fantasy
now.
Movie making Oscars. I'm sad too, man. I'm sad too.
We should probably address the small elephant in the room before we get too much further. That Shell's not here because she's busy. Yeah,
she's dead.
She's busy making fan art of dragons fucking cars.
Yeah,
yep.
And cars fucking dragons. She's imagining dragons while listening to Imagine Dragons.
How many levels of irony are you on right now, Keith?
3 seconds of silence, damn it.
Yeah.
Didn't get it. I didn't get it.
More.
I gotta try harder now.
Yeah.
The Keith quota is needs to be filled.
He's doing well on the awkwardness.
Yeah.
He's hitting that quota pretty good.
Don't Transformers movies win Oscars? That happens, right?
Should they?
They shouldn't, but I think they win special effects Oscars too.
I can see that. He
reuses the.
It hurts.
Haven't you seen that? Like there are like reused scenes and footage in Transformers movies from other movies of like cars exploding, and then they're like, oh, they're exploding again the same way.
That's kind of lame.
It is super lame. It is super lame.
For me, it's hard to deal with like. Wait a minute. No. Yeah, no. Fuck this. I just realized Neon Demon came out this year. Fuck you, Suicide Squad. Neon Demon is a movie about hair and makeup, and it's beautiful because it's from The Drive guy. So it's super well shot and beautiful and ridiculous looking. Neon Demon's the most beautiful movie that came out this year, and it lost to Suicide Squad for hair and makeup. And nobody... That's fucked up. Why? Because Margot Robbie dyed 2 different pigtails, different colors, and wore fishnet stockings? And they covered
You have the biggest chip on your shoulder about this movie.
It's fucked up. It's fucked up. It's fucked up, but it's fucked up in a way that I like, in a way that matters not at all. It's fucked up in a way that coincides with like somebody disagreeing with you about a video game's quality on the internet. Like it doesn't fucking matter. But
do you need to lie down?
I'm just
Are you going to be okay?
This conclusion.
Are you going
that can't happen?
You started out this podcast at like an 8 out of 10, and I feel like it's going to just keep getting like ragier.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, all right.
It's just it escalated because I remembered that Neon Demon existed this year. Because Neon Demon and The Witch came out this year, and the Oscars, I think, just ignored both of them. But Suicide Squad gets an Oscar.
So, speaking of superhero movies, you want to talk about Logan, I guess?
Yeah.
That's relevant.
Was it actually worth watching? Because, that's like,
It's the best X-Men movie ever made.
Okay.
Wow,
like, pretty much without competition. I also don't think it's part of the X-Men universe.
Okay, I'll bite. What does that mean?
I mean, I don't think it's part of the X-Men cinematic universe. Like, it's the 9th X-Men movie, which is a hard thing to say out loud. Because we've had a trilogy of original movies, a trilogy of new movies, and a trilogy of Wolverine movies now.
I guess that makes sense, though, because in Days of Future Past, Logan was kind of in the new alternate universe, and then he just disappeared.
Yeah. Oh, because he wasn't in. He probably wasn't in Apocalypse, huh?
Yeah.
So when I say that, I mean like, I don't know. Somebody might count this as a spoiler, but it's not a plot point of any kind. It's just acknowledgement of what I'm saying right here. Is that Logan physically picks up an X-Men comic book, and he's like, this isn't even. Like, he's explaining to somebody else in the movie that these books are fictional, and like, here's the names of the people that made them up, and none of this is even what happened for real, because there's like merchandising and comic books about him and his friends and stuff like that aren't accurate.
Okay, did Rick and Morty writers work on the movie or something? That's insane.
It feels like I've been watching on Netflix The People versus O.J. Simpson, which is like a 10-ish episode thing about the O.J. Simpson trial and the lead up and all the other stuff. And there's so many weird behind the scenes. I really want to watch. It's real good so far in 2 episodes. But there's all these scenes of like Ross from Friends like crying, being Mr. Kardashian, and all these weird private scenes, and I'm like, You got to make all these up, right? Like, these have to be all... Like, you can't know how any of these scenes actually played out for the most part, especially when the whole premise is is that people are supposed to be saying that the crime didn't actually happen, because obviously everyone involved would not admit that OJ killed people, I think, unless they changed their mind at some point. I've paid that close attention. But, so, like... I
watch the documentary or read the Wikipedia article. Yeah. And remember the 90s, and you'll be fine.
So I imagine the implication here in Logan is that the previous 8 movies are all those comic books. They're the dramatization of what Logan's actual life was like, so they get a bunch of details wrong, they don't quite match up. It works really well because Logan as a movie does not match the tone or directing style of any of the previous movies.
That does sound actually like a really cool premise. I'm just giving it a hard time.
Yeah, because it's like it's a pretty serious, dour movie, but it's one of those movies that earns it. Like, I never saw The Road, but I imagine The Road is probably a similar kind of thing of like it earns its location of this kind of tone and everything. But yeah, it's you strip out all the X-Men and it's just Logan and Xavier and this little girl from the trailers and that story, and it's really well done. Little long, but really well done. That's
how long is it?
At least 2 hours and 20 minutes or something.
Oh, wow. Too long for my blood.
I saw it at 1:05 and I barely got here in time for our
that's what you're up to.
I see. Yeah, if a movie's longer than like with 2 hours for me, I'm usually just like, I'm done.
I went out shopping today to see if there were any Link Amiibos. Spoilers.
Shopping.
No.
Do you get like a cool thing if you get the Amiibo, or is this like what does it unlock?
So every single Legend of Zelda Amiibo that they have has a different feature. So if you have the Wolf Link one from the Twilight Princess HD that they released on the Wii U, that gets you Wolf Link. And if he's tied to a save file from Twilight Princess, doesn't matter how far you got, he gets like 20 hearts and wrecks shit.
God damn.
It's beautiful.
So you were basically like driving around trying to buy cheat codes. Dude, 2017's weird.
Listen,
I know it is weird. I mean, honestly, the Legend of Zelda figurines are actually pretty nice. But
I'm gonna look them up.
So the only way you can get Epona is if you get the Twilight Princess Smash Brothers Link. And I wanted Epona because, horse.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Nintendo figured out that they make all of their money off of accessories. So they invented Amiibos. Those brilliant motherfuckers.
They're making a mountain of money off that stuff.
Decision.
Yeah.
This is the smartest decision they've ever made.
It's kind of nuts, and I'm surprisingly okay with it.
I mean, you get a cool figurine out of it, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
these are
I get a
pretty
cool
swanky
figurine for like $10, and yeah, it nets me like some in-game perks. So like if you want some like iconic equipment, like so if you get the Ocarina of Time Link, it's
stupid Target website's broken.
Yeah, it's awful. I was trying to.
Wow, what the fuck is wrong with this website? Anyway,
I was trying to find some of the. Amiibos, and like I simply couldn't.
I mean, yesterday, according to the Target website, the Switch didn't exist.
Yes,
which is weird because I got one at Target.
These are cool. These are cool amiibos.
Yeah, they're nice. But so we were pretty much just out hunting for amiibos and stuff. And they had the 30th anniversary Toon Link or whatever. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. So each Link amiibo comes with their outfit. So if you if you get if you get Ocarina of Time, yeah, I did. If you get the Ocarina of Time one, you get his outfit, Toon Link outfit. Wind Waker, I think you get the shield and some other stuff. But if you get the Twilight Princess one, you get Epona, which was the one we were looking for. And if you get Ganon, he just gives you good weapons. Which is actually it sounds kind of stupid.
No, I understand how that game works. That actually makes a big difference.
Since there's this ultra, I'm gonna call it ultra punishing weapon durability system. The ability to once a day summon a chest that gives you a decent weapon actually is kind of incredibly useful. Because
everything in the game breaks.
Yeah, the reason why I said ow is because I broke my weapon on a guy and he smacked me in the face, and it's aw, game.
At least the Master Sword doesn't break. It does. What happens to it? It loses damage or something like that.
Yeah, its damage is reduced.
So that reminds me of something that just happened. Actually, I had Facebook open for just a moment, and immediately the first thing that came up was a GameStop promoted article that said here's what the Master Sword looks like in Breath of the Wild, and the banner image was the Master Sword, and it's there's no escape from immediate spoiler if you care about that.
Yeah, the Master Sword's design has not really changed much between games.
I don't care, but that's one of those things where that's exactly the type of banner image that pisses people off of articles. It's here it is. True. You didn't even know we were going to give it to you, but here it is in your face.
It's like those Walking Dead spoilers, where it's just you wouldn't believe who dies next, and it's just a picture of Glenn or something, and he's not even the guy that dies, and it's just
sometimes
this
it's not
is
even
doubly
clickbait.
Lies.
Sometimes it's not even clickbait, and they literally are the shocking departure of this character, and it publishes the moment that the episode airs on the East Coast.
Yes.
So as a Walking Dead fan, you quickly learn to not open any social media in the 3-hour lag between coasts, or you will get spoiled on every death that ever happens in the show.
Yeah, but there are some people amongst us who don't care about spoilers, Wandershell.
There are people like
plot
that.
to Logan.
I mean, I'm not going to look up the plot of Logan. That seems like a movie that I'd actually appreciate.
They looked up the plot to Get Out. It's also real good.
I'm sure it's real good. It's just I simply don't have time to go out and watch movies right now. This, we kind of touched on this last podcast with the sheer amount of things coming out, but I am so swamped trying to get any of these games finished and recorded, because I haven't finished Hollow Knight and I need to get back to that. I'm actually getting pretty close to finishing. Horizon Zero Dawn, at least as far as I can tell, which is kind of nice. And then Neir's coming out on Monday.
You set up a calendar of all the crazy things coming out soon, and then as the month plays out, even more things reveal themselves you didn't know about along the way.
Yeah, the indie games that are not on the coming soon. They're just surprise, here's the game you're really looking forward to, but they never were explicit about when this is coming out, and you're no, please, please don't.
Yesterday the new Shovel Knight came out. I found out that day, and I'm I already planned out my schedule. It's too fucked already. I can't do it. One day, Shovel Knight. I'll get back to you. Thanks for making more expansions for a great game. Thank you, but
clearly we just got to figure out a time and place where we can be physically in proximity, so we can do the co-op. I assume the expansion does not have co-op though.
I don't know much about the co-op. It was Wii U exclusive, so they make it really hard to even keep track of.
I wonder if it's Switch exclusive. It was
Wii U exclusive and required the Shovel Knight amiibo, which I don't even know if they still make that.
That was so terrible.
Yeah, they do. I saw the Shovel Knight amiibo at Target today, so it's still available.
Probably agony. It's probably incredibly frustrating in co-op, because I think you have hitboxes for each other, and you have to you can bump into each other in a platforming game.
Man, it better be the best damn co-op experience ever if you have to go through that much bull crap
from what I saw from
steal
the
each other's life when you die. That's a great. It's got to be torture in co-op, which is the best outcome. It's just when you're just yelling at each other.
Everyone loves the magic of co-op style.
Yeah.
So
I know Shell was kind of like, we should play that together, and I'm like, I think that would go very poorly. I love you, but we played Love Isn't Dangerous. Yeah,
let's go over there. I want to talk to this person.
Carl.
Man, you guys didn't even see us trying to play Twilight Princess. There was a moment where Shell was like, "Shoot the bat," and I'm like, "I'm trying. Shoot the bat. I'm trying. Shoot the bat." And it's like, you're not even listening to me. And then everybody gets really pissy at us, kind of the Keith Black Desert Online thing, where it's just like, how could you treat your co-op partner this way? And it's like,
I think there are people on the internet that genuinely don't have friends of any kind, and they can't process the concept that like friends often talk to each other in certain ways because of familiarity, and relationships are even worse than that.
I don't go up to my coworkers and call them fuck faces, but I do that to you two.
I mean, Jeff Ramsey jokes about having a divorce with Griffin in every podcast for the last 5 years.
Yeah. Like with Shell and myself, it's whenever we're playing a game, she wants me to go one way, I'm going another, because we both communicate kind of poorly, and then we bicker, and everybody's just like, this is the worst relationship ever, and I'm like, no, this is actually a relatively healthy relationship that we get through most of our problems.
No, if you ever disagree with anything ever, then that means you hate the other person.
Yeah, I got some pretty bad messages after. I still do, calling me like a misogynist prick, and I'm like,
oh yeah, how dare you talk to your girlfriend that way? I'm judging your relationship based on a 20-minute internet video.
Yeah.
I finally disabled comments for the first time ever on a video because I just get tired of reminded every few weeks that somebody's really mad about how I mistreat Carl in our Black Desert Online video, when I'm just like, that was the one where I'm totally flabbergasted because the game makes no sense and keeps throwing insane stuff at us, and we're both separated and it's chaos, and there's 50 random players and NPCs and mobs of infinitely respawning enemies everywhere and particle effects, and you can't tell what's going on.
Keith. You started out this podcast at like a 8 or 9 on the scale.
I don't want your rating systems. I don't want them anymore.
You're back up there.
I don't want your rating systems.
You got to pull it down from a Captain Crunch
me. You can't contain this mite
to a cornflakes.
I don't even know what that sentence went to. Where'd you go with that?
You didn't like rating systems, so I just
really
food analogies.
Really there. Things got weird.
I know. That was the whole point.
Weren't we talking about the other?
Now we're gonna get comments about how you hate me so much and why you're mistreating me and trying to censor me. We get comments on this podcast about how we censor Shell.
Hey. Whatever. Okay. What were we gonna ask, Wander?
I was just gonna say, weren't we talking about that the other day? Like bullshit rating systems or something like that? Or was that a different conversation?
I remember
somebody else?
The Vox Storycast that I did with Rockwar and Crafty Gnomes before this podcast.
Oh, I remember you doing that.
We rated things based off of cartoons. So if something was good, we compared it to a good cartoon and said it was like a Gravity Falls. If something was bad, we compared it to a bad cartoon and said it was like a Drawn Together.
I think I listened to that podcast.
I was supposed to edit them.
That was live streamed, right? By someone?
No, they weren't.
No. Why do I feel like I've heard this before?
I don't know. We talked about it.
We might have mentioned. It might have been mentioned.
Wait, this is the kind of bullshit that Jim Sterling pulls, actually.
Oh.
On his like itch.io videos. He just says nonsense things. What, did you find out something you did was unoriginal again?
He even has the same last name. Oh.
He does.
It's okay, Bird. Keith has had his full name on YouTube since ever, and as far as we can tell, the worst that's happened is people think he's a hockey player. So, you know what?
True.
If people start thinking you're a hockey player, that's probably for the best.
That'd be really confusing. That's some SEO magic right there. So, on the Nintendo Switch, that was still surprisingly easy to get, but less easy than last time.
I'm surprised because it's totally sold out in my area. Like, there's no Switches.
But when the Wii U came
Best
out,
Buy and there's like nothing here.
When the Wii U came out, I went into a random store at like 7 p.m. the day it came out, and there was just like 5 of them stacked, and I just picked one up. When the Switch came out,
that's the Wii U, so I don't think you're really surprising anybody with that story.
They're both new Nintendo consoles with having a launch. Like, people didn't know in advance the Wii U was going to do poorly, and just like that, I didn't know. I couldn't tell whether the Nintendo Switch was going to be a failure, regardless of having some cool ideas or not, and stuff like that. So I interestingly, I went to GameStop for it, and they just said, go to Target customer service. I think they have some left. And yeah, Target had I think Target seriously had 20 of them left when I got there. So
how well is the Switch sold? Do we have any initial figures yet?
It seems to have sold out everywhere, so 100%.
Yeah, it seems to be doing very well. Our sales were 100%.
So, yeah. I think they kind of lucked out. So, unlike
they released it at a really good time of year to do this.
They did. They don't have any competition in terms of what am I thinking? Yeah, other consoles, which is kind of huge. Yeah. Combo that with, Breath of the Wild getting pretty much perfect 10s across the board, or 9s or 10s, which is kind of ridiculous in and of itself. And the fact
it's going to be interesting to see if there's backlash for that later or not.
Maybe. So far, I've yet to.
Right now, Breath of the Wild is listed as the 4th best game of all time on Metacritic.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. It's getting 10s out of 10s. It's going nuts.
We'll see.
It looks cool. I've loved watching it.
It's super satisfying.
I've enjoyed Wander and Housey streaming it.
I didn't know Housey was playing it too.
It does highlight the fact that it was fun. A lot of reviews just don't get counted, though. I read a review earlier that was just explicitly saying, "Do not recommend this game." Those just trashing the game for the entire review, but it's not on Metacritic. I'm like, huh? How about that?
I think it's one of those where a lot of people also kind of try and be contrarian, so it's hard to judge. People hating the game just so if everybody gives it a perfect score and then Dude Mick hates stuff. Gives it a look. I'm not great with parody names here, but he's just I give it a 3. Everybody's going to go looking for that and be like,
there you go.
Yeah. Chad Game Bro gives it a 3, and everybody's like, fuck, why'd you give it a 3? And it turns
because I don't like popular games.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as Hollow Knight, and therefore, it took away.
That is what somebody would say.
That argument always bothers me a little bit, though, just because. It's like certain things reach a point where literally any negative review is considered to be somehow non-legitimate when it comes to certain movies and games that hit a certain hype level.
People still feel that way about Ocarina of Time.
That's how people reacted to any negative reviews about The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
it can't possibly be considered bad by anyone ever unless you're trying to win some money somehow by doing so, and that gets iffy. And I get the feeling that the culture surrounding Zelda and the toxicity towards anyone who disagrees with that kind of opinion leads to reviewers often wanting to just, by default, give it positive reviews so that they don't look like the asshole that everyone's going to stop paying attention to for the next 6 years because of a grudge.
The funny thing for me is this actually plays the least like any of the Zelda games I've ever played. So I could almost imagine
look like any of the other ones.
Yeah, I could almost imagine hardcore Zelda fans would actually probably be less likely to enjoy this game.
But they preemptively decide they enjoy it, which means that you can't have a negative review.
Fair point.
We know the internet well.
Because the reviews happen before the people find out that they don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm not even being devil's advocate or anything about this game because I think it's neat so far for the hour I played, but I'm just talking about general how these games get treated though is really, really iffy.
Yeah. Kind of separate, seeing as we haven't played enough Breath of the Wild. I wanna hold off talking about it too much until I've completed a dungeon.
Yeah, sure.
Just because that's kind of the meat and bones of it. The shrines are my favorite part so far. Just wandering around, finding a shrine, and be like, I'm gonna do some puzzles. And then it's over in a couple of minutes. That's my favorite part of the game so far. I actually have zero interest in playing it legitimately beyond that. Like, everybody's like, go talk to Impa and, like, continue the plot. And I'm like,
but
I basically
side
walked to the
content.
first waypoint so far.
yeah. But, like, everybody was asking me to do that, and I'm just like, I just want to explore, because you get the, like, classic towers from any open world game, and those serve as teleportation points, and you can also, like, float off of them and, like, fly around and stuff, which is awesome. So that's my main goal here. I could give a rat's butt about the
Dungeons?
like about the actual dungeons and the plot and everything else like that. Because all I want to do is just go fight shit, get loot, find new armor. The equipment system is so nice.
It's so weird thinking that people just like already like just immediately can just walk into the boss fight and just end the game basically in a couple hours.
Wait,
Yeah,
really?
Yeah,
You can sequence break it like crazy?
Well,
it's not even sequence breaking,
sequence
it's
break.
just you can beat him.
Yeah,
He's right there.
they acknowledge that you could actually go and fight Ganon immediately if you really wanted to.
You're just trying to become powerful or something first.
The
I
most
think.
straightforward game ever made.
Like
And
it
so
almost
Have to
makes
Burn the Rope was one of the inspirations for our design for this game.
it almost makes the
The
game feel
world-
like Half Minute Hero.
Yeah, the world record for the night of release was an hour and a half.
Damn.
Wow,
Yeah,
that was the
and so
day it
that's
came
probably
out.
yeah, that's the day it came out. Like this is like a couple hours after release because
Yeah, Q Wander's
playing.
150 part series.
so somebody probably got an early copy, maybe found out where like a couple of good durable weapons are, and then just
Powered
bum rush
through
to the and that's it. Yeah, I
And
gotta,
now speedrunners are
respect
going to get it down to like 35 minutes.
Personally, I'm only going to be interested in speedruns if they do dungeon, like the
Full
all
hundos.
dungeons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
maybe not hundo.
it seems
but
too
like,
short. If you can beat it in like in an hour, in like in an any percent, like already.
At the same
then
time,
that
though, they
kinda defeats
directly
the
compare
point.
their own game to Skyrim, being like, it's bigger than Skyrim, and Skyrim's a game you could beat ridiculously fast, but no one does.
Yeah,
Because that's also the boring part of the game is the story.
My feeling is that I enjoy any percents if they're glitch based. I don't like any
Yes.
percents if they're not very
Yeah,
glitchy,
if
because then
it
it just kind of
requires a
feels like it's
weird-
pointless.
if
Yeah.
it requires
Yeah.
a weird dumb glitch to get there, count me in because that's
Yeah.
always
Dumb
really fun to
glitches
watch.
or like funky movement tech where it's like you have to run diagonally while holding a bomb over your head. Like
At the
I'm
same time,
totally
though-
game with that.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls campaigns are surprisingly short, too.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
They're
the
also
reason why
surprisingly horrible.
I bring
Yeah.
up the review stuff, though, is just the fact that, like, Skyward Sword is still one of the highest rated games of all time, even though it seems to be considered the worst 3D Zelda game ever made. So hype reviews are a very real thing when it comes to the Zelda franchise. So
True.
So I'm not trying to damn the game or anything, and I want it to be great, and I want to continue to be as interesting as it's been so far. I'm just really interested in seeing how the conversation about it differs from launch week to 6 months from now.
Yeah,
like
I
right
think
around
it'll
the time
hold
where
up
everyone started
because-
admitting Final Fantasy 13 was garbage, as opposed to giving it good
Yeah.
reviews.
the thing
I don't
for
think
me
the
though,
game's garbage. I think it looks
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah.
I think,
I think-
it's a quality game.
I
I don't-
think it
I
was
don't think
pretty
this
obvious
game's-
from the
Okay,
get-go,
Keith.
though, that...
Yeah, Keith.
Oh.
Wander. Yeah.
Okay, Keith, sorry.
Wrong call.
Damn it. I'm a good conversation ref. We.
Okay, Keith, you go. What?
No, I just found it really funny that I specifically went silent for you to talk, and then he's like, "Go, Keith." I'm like, "No."
I said the wrong name. I
Yeah,
meant to
like I
say
don't
Wander.
think Breath of the Wild's gonna
Oh.
have that kind of backlash, but I'm just acknowledging with 13 as an example of how these conversations change so much after time passes. Like everyone's going to turn on Rogue One so hard. Once it's not the newest Star Wars movie anymore, like people are going to suddenly realize that another prequel basically happened because of how much of a mess that movie was. But for now, we're in that opening year of like Phantom Menace coming out where everyone still liked it, and that's how that
Wander
happens
point?
a lot.
Okay, I was just gonna say with games like Final Fantasy 15, it was pretty obvious from the get-go, like this is gonna have problems. This one,
True.
if there are problems, they're packed in towards the end. Like, I think the biggest problem that people will run into with this game is it is an open world game, and it's a lot of open world. And I'm going to be totally honest, I'm enjoying just running around and beating the crap out of moblins right now. Like, that's just what I'm doing, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. But I can imagine a lot of people not sharing the same enthusiasm after hours of gameplay.
Cool. I think that what's really been quite amazing to see is like how big of a departure it is, and how it's like been inspired by so many recent trends that we have going on.
Yeah,
my mind is stunned that there's like a crafting and cooking system, for example. That's amazing.
I don't know if there's much of a crafting system. You can make.
I meant to say cooking. What the hell was that?
But that was like a semi-robo moment.
Yeah, it was like somebody stepped on a Moog synthesizer.
Yeah, you can make. And then it just went away.
That's weird.
What were you saying, Wander?
Oh, you can make like a couple of things. I wish you could actually just straight up make weapons and stuff. Just because like it would kind of offset like one of the problems I'm running into.
Yeah.
Well, one of the problems I'm running into right now is like it just broke my bow, and so I'm like, all right, now I have to go switch out for another bow. And like half the weapons I have right now are just pure garbage because that's the only. It'd be cool
if you could like craft better, like more durable weapons.
Yeah, or like
you found like the raw materials from like shitty weapons and made better ones out of them.
Yeah, that would be nice.
This game's gonna live or die based on how well its mechanics interact with the open world to justify the open world's existence.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, you got more.
Like, there's a lot of games
philosophy there.
There's just a lot of games that just have an environment, and you can go around.
I'm just saying that was a really pretty sentence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the question of whether or not this is a Just Cause 2 or a Mafia 2.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah,
where like
that's a really good way to put it.
Like, is the environment directly going to reintegrate with the mechanics to make the two things like actually better than they are individually, or is it like Mafia 2 where you can collect some posters if you really feel like it, but otherwise it's just some streets that exist and that's it. And that'll be what lives and dies by. And there's a good sign already because I did the first tiny shrine and got the first like new tool, I'll say. And immediately, like, it does stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's interesting that it does stuff. And, like, immediately you walk outside and you're, like, doing stuff in the environment you couldn't do a second ago. I'm like,
so you haven't finished the old man's tasks yet?
I've literally done the first thing.
Okay. So, this isn't really a spoiler, but you get 6 abilities over the course of the game from the shrines. And then every shrine thereafter is solved using those 6 abilities. And that's just kind of the rest of the game. And you'd think that's boring, but each and every one of them has like weird combos and stuff like that. And it's just like, we ran into a shrine earlier with like waterfalls, and you get an ice power that you freeze blocks of ice out of. And so we had to scale waterfalls using these blocks of ice and stuff like that, and it was really neat. And every shrine also always has 1 to 2 treasure chests that you can loot, that usually have like rare and more powerful weapons in them, which is super nice. And so it's just kind of this.
I was gonna say, like, the sentence where you said, like, you only get 6 powers, and that might be kind of boring, but it's not. Like, that's almost always the case, though, right? Like, it's much. If you have a ton of powers, that's usually awful. But if you have a couple of like very focused ones that have like cool systems around them, like that's generally way more interesting.
It reminds me of like A Link Between Worlds, which I haven't played, but I know that game immediately puts every mechanic of the game on a table in front of you and is like, here they are if you want them. But that game's supposed to be amazing, so it seems to work out.
I don't know if there's stuff like the hook shot in this game, though. That's the one thing that I hope they have it. The thing is, the hook shot's kind of not useful, maybe, because we have the ability to. I know that's why I'm hoping we get it anyway. But instead, the equipment does more in this game. So I know there's a bandana that you can get that gives you a climbing bonus, and there's like food stuff that you can get. But yeah, I'm really hoping they still have the item system, just because. I'm just not sure how it would fit, because currently I have swords, bows, and shields. I see no tabs for like special abilities, so maybe not gonna have a hook shot, but I'm gonna have like armor that gives me, climbing bonuses and stuff like that. So it's like, I still hope they have it, but if they don't have it, I guess I'll live. I don't know.
But you're going to tell me in an open world game, you wouldn't appreciate having a grappling hook.
A grappling hook would be amazing, but as it stands, I can climb almost every surface in the game as it is, fling myself off and fly off of it, and
that's true. Watching that has been kind of magic.
It is great magic. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I will miss it if they don't have it, but if they don't have it, I understand.
One thing kind of magic though, in a way, already.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was kind of cool was watching people like run around on top of walls and stuff like that, like on top of ruins and just exploring up there. And that just reminded me like how much I did that when I was a kid. And just seeing that in a video game made me unusually happy just to see that, like, being acknowledged.
Well, what I'm doing right now is just running around checking out all the areas that we haven't been through because, when I'm actually streaming this, I'm kind of trying to keep on track. And now that I'm just doing whatever, it's like
Wander saw a thing in the sky. What'd you see in the sky?
Oh, they have the
in episode 1?
there's a giant floating island in the sky that's more or less the starting area from Skyward Sword. That makes a return. And
that's neat.
I don't know how I'm going to get up there.
I was going to say, that kind of sounds less interesting because it's reused, but it's still cool.
And then the ship from Wind Waker shows up.
Let's be totally honest, though.
Off.
The whole reuse thing is kind of moot because there's the Zora River Mount.
I was going to say it's Zelda.
Yeah, whatever Mount Doom's name is in this game, the desert with the Gerudo. Is it?
I mean, look.
Is it really called Mount Doom?
Let me see.
No. That always has Gorons on it and stuff like that. They reuse so much for the Zelda games. If these were worse games, people would be giving it the same treatment as Assassin's Creed. But every one of them is just on its own a masterpiece. So it's kind of hard to give Nintendo shit for it to some degree because it's just like whatever.
I definitely got a little bit of a moment there where I realized that climbing a tower reveals the map, and I'm like, oh, we're doing this here, are we?
It barely, though. All it does is fills in the topography. You have to fill it in the rest of the way. The whole the lens pin system is great. Like, I'm trying to climb high surfaces to figure out where the hell the... Oh, wait, that might actually be one of the shrines or the towers I haven't been to. Nope, it is shit. Or whatever. Yeah, there's one tower I haven't spotted.
You're doing the shell
Death
thing.
Mountain, there we go.
Yeah.
There's one tower I haven't found yet, and I want to find it so I can actually walk all of there, but I haven't found it yet, and it's a pain in the butt.
Hey, Keith, just because Shell's not here doesn't mean Wander can't interrupt himself.
Yeah, it's true. It's a strange thing. If she's not here, I just proxy her own commentary. The one thing I will say, one major complaint, I've gotten one shot in this game way more times than I care to, like...
That's a little weird.
I got one shot basically immediately.
Yeah.
I left the opening area, walked into one blue dude, and just got immediately killed. I'm like, oh. Huh.
Yeah,
I've seen that to every single person who's played the game so far.
I think blue bokoblins do 3 hearts straight up if they're using the right weapon. And
because their club has 12 damage on it, and that's 12 damage. Is 12 chunks of heart.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, you're just running around with the basic equipment. So those guys just wreck your shit.
Yep.
Which comes as a complete surprise.
It's not a happy time.
Have you seen those like broken robots all over the place or no?
No.
Oh god, those things.
I've done almost nothing so far.
Yeah, they're like these spider bots.
Yeah, don't spoil it. Let them discover the robots.
Okay. Yeah.
They're fun. You're gonna like the robots.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have follow-up for a previous question that makes a little more sense. Remember when somebody was like, "What do you guys smoke?" And I was like, "Why?" It's like a weird question out of nowhere. I guess
is it because we got like deepish voices?
I guess it was like somebody watched me play Bloodborne, and I beat the hardest boss of any Souls game ever after a ridiculous number of attempts over several days. And I went when I beat him, and then said, "I need to smoke," which is that's a ejaculation joke, is what that is. No, I do not smoke. But now we know why somebody thought I smoke.
Fair enough.
We're going to get a follow-up question that just says, do you ejaculate now? So thanks for that. Gross.
Well, you got a follow-up question on something you were talking about earlier, actually. Gavin Moretter asks, what's the best glitch run you've ever seen?
Oh, how do you decide? God, I've seen such good ones.
I haven't seen a whole lot, but I'm very partial to the 2017 Ocarina of Time 3DS run, just because that guy he wasn't abusing as many glitches as he probably could have, because he was doing an all-dungeon run, but he was one of the very first streamers I've ever watched that actually had, like, kind of Let's Player chops, as opposed to, like, I gotta be hard on speedrunners. A lot of them are really boring. Like, they don't run a show, they just run the dungeon. So, like, I watched the Dark Souls 3 one, and the guy, like, made a couple of jokes, but, like, he didn't have the confidence behind them to, like, justify it, so it's just like...
Bubbles del Fuego?
Yeah, Bubbles del Fuego.
So... well, I might talk about that later, but, like, he actually doesn't run that game very much. He only did that run because none of the other Dark Souls 3 runners wanted to do it. There's actually a ton of controversy surrounding that specific run, but we'll focus on talking about glitch runs so we don't get too off topic here. Yeah, that Ocarina of Time one is amazing because he's doing a lot of glitches, but it's still a watchable stream. It's not like you're being dazzled by, like, what the fuck is going on, but it's cool. It's cool movement tech. Yeah.
And he explained everything perfectly and then would make dumb jokes about it. It's like, this is the kind of thing that I like watching, because the alternative is watching somebody kind of stone-faced. I guess the alternative is I like it when there are couch commentators, like, behind them that actually know their shit. And not boring.
Yeah, but couch commentators are usually... that's pretty much an AGDQ thing. That's really, really not common for most speedruns, of course.
Yep.
But that is a extremely, extremely satisfying run to watch.
Yes.
I watch a lot of glitch runs. One of my favorite glitch runs I ever saw was a Super Mario Bros. 2 speed run. I think this was just a glitch demo exhibition. It wasn't like a full run. But what they did was they managed to basically change where in memory they were reading the level data from to be just assorted game data. So it was like interpreting sprites as like level layout and, like, putting walls and stuff in various places.
When people use, like, Mario and Pokemon to just reprogram the game to get what they want by just doing weird actions.
Exactly, but he did it in the context of a platformer, which is really, really cool to watch. So he wound up in this one part of the map that was being generated by his player data, and some of the blocks were interactable. So he broke one of the brick blocks that you can in Mario 2, and it activated star power on Mario because that, like, set a flag that was like, Mario should be invincible now. That was mind-blowingly cool to see. And then he froze the game and it locked up. But that's to be expected when you're running literally through the game's RAM.
Full speed ahead.
Keith, I assume you don't do a whole lot of speedrun watching?
No. I've never even sat through a full one before, for the most part, because I just get bored. So, like, the only one I've gotten through really was one of those ones where somebody burns through all of Mario 64 in, like, a couple minutes. And I'm like, wow, he's sliding on his spelly backwards through the entire game. That's weird. And then the game's over already. You're like, huh, all right.
Yeah.
Like, he got into Bowser's Castle somehow by walking through walls and nonsense, and then it was over already.
Oh, you know what? I think I did see that one. I know the one you're talking about. I got a
64 speedruns are very interesting for the glitches that they do. You have a question?
Sort of. I don't know. It's kind of one that we've all kind of heard before.
How do you type with boxing gloves in your hand?
No. I want to start recording YouTube and also stream on Twitch. Hopefully make it a job eventually.
Oh boy.
I'm 15 years old and I have an Alienware PC.
Oh no.
Any advice? Start now, have no expectations.
Oh no.
But also focus on school, because that's probably more important.
Yeah, keep your expectations real low.
Yeah.
You got one thing going for you, which is that 15-year-olds have a lot of time.
Mostly, yeah.
Well,
But also...
depends on how hard they want to get into, like, I want to go to Yale and Harvard.
It's like me saying I wanted to... it's like me saying
they have
I
more
wanted
time
to...
than adults do.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, yes, I have more time now than I ever used to. I just
Do you,
spend
though?
it doing... Well, I have more time for my things. I spend less of it on you guys.
It's true.
It's...
Like,
I would say that-
I have plenty of bird time. It's awesome.
I would say that high school students have a lot more time than employed adults do.
Yeah, probably. Well, no, I
Homework.
don't know. Yeah,
God,
you gotta
I
go to
had
school.
so much homework in
Yeah,
high
but going
school.
through high school is the art of figuring out how to not have to do your homework for real.
Well, you could do that.
Speaking
Or
as
you
an
could do
honor
your
roll
homework for
student,
real, and then...
speaking as an honor roll student, it was all about finding ways to not do as much work as you had to do throughout the entire 4 years, or
I
12
did the
years,
same thing,
or so
and
on.
it came back to bite me in the ass pretty hard in college, actually.
It's some tests are hard to study for. Yeah,
I when I was 15, I wanted to be a webcomic artist, and I was working towards that, and I went to college for it. And now I'm doing this, so like, don't...
Well, you shoot for the moon, hit another planet's moon.
yeah.
shoot for the moon,
Slightly
end up on
different looking
Mars.
moon.
So
Be very confused.
I'll put it this way. A while ago, I did a podcast with two other people that were both looking to start YouTubing, and I tried to tell them as much as I could about how things generally go. One of them never made the first video. The other one stopped 10 months ago at a total subscriber count of 11.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of people doing it because it's real easy to start. It's literally free for most people. If you have a PC that can run games, you can download OBS, get some basic microphone somewhere, and just start making videos. It's that easy.
Yeah, get a Logitech headset, and then play Minecraft.
You'll basically learn as you go about how many ways you're screwing up. Because there's so many ways to screw up that it's hard to even explain it, and there's so many ways to do it that it's hard to say what the right way is to do it. And also, like I can give advice. Wander and I can totally give advice on what to do when you have an audience. Nobody can tell you how to get an audience, especially doing Let's Plays. You know how you get an audience on the internet is do something wildly original and viral and crazy that everyone loves. Doing Let's Plays is something that everyone's used to already. So getting your starting audience to even be able to make proper decisions of how to keep them is nearly impossible. And the entirety of the subreddit Let's Play is basically just this perpetual blue balls frustration state of mind of people being angry that they can't break through, and PewDiePie doesn't deserve it, and they do.
Damn, preach it, Keith. You're at it again.
I've been doing this for a long time.
I got a comment on my YouTube channel from somebody that I immediately found on our Let's Play, and the guy was being really pissy at me for acting holier than thou. Yeah, from my Stardew Valley, because somebody asked me if we could do a collab once, and I was just like, look, man, no. And he was just so pissy about it, and then I saw him slightly later, and I'm just...
do a Stardew Valley collab, because I haven't...
Oh yeah, if you're watching
doesn't
this,
play video games anymore, so...
If you're watching this, I recommend not asking any of us to do collaborations or any other YouTuber of doing collaborations until you kind of have your own stuff launched. Like, you need to have a proper channel that's been running for months and months and has an established audience and so on. Mostly because it's your YouTube channel is your resume. Yep. Anyone can immediately look at your channel and see exactly what content you make. So if you made like 3 videos a month and randomly start and stop every game, and all your thumbnails are garbage, and you get 3 views per day, like you have a lot more stuff to figure out. And a lot of us are people that are doing this. Like, we have with an established audience, we gotta try to maintain a certain level of quality and consistency. And bringing in random people just because they want to get included it just doesn't always work that way.
Plus, honestly, for us, like, we have
busy.
pretty established people that we work with, and we're all incredibly busy already. So, like, we're not.
I don't have enough time to play with anybody.
Like, the missing thing here is that also we know each other, which is half the reason we make videos together.
This group is very, very established at this point. Like, we haven't added a new person to this group in months, which has never been the case before. This is definitely the longest stretch of time that the group has been more or less stabilized.
Oh yeah. And the number one person I collaborate with was Andrew, and his channel's a mess, but guess what? He was my neighbor.
Yeah, that helps.
the ends are different from that. It really is about who knows people, and not even for like cynical things like normal jobs where it's like where people get free rides for knowing each other, but like literally that's knowing people is better for content than picking up randoms and just seeing what happens.
Yeah.
So I actually, kind of on the same note, got a message from Pocket Pack.
Whoa, he's alive?
I saw Pocket Life a couple days ago too. Yeah,
asking for tips on starting again, and he wanted to like film stuff, and he called me a big shot, and it's like, I know you're busy and whatever, and I'm like, I just don't know how to respond to this anymore, because trying to teach somebody from years ago how to, it's like trying to teach somebody that's only known how to do video editing with with like Sony Vegas, how to do editing with Premiere. Like, it's going to be a pain in the butt, because it's like, you knew the game back in like years ago, and now you don't, and now I don't know how to bring anybody else on because I'm super busy to begin with, and it's just like, I
mean, like the best advice
So the
to
response
give...
is, glad to hear from you again, Pocket. How's the wife and kids?
Yeah.
Like, some of the best advice I can give is
It's
just like be consistent and dedicated.
Yeah.
But to a fault. Like,
yes.
If, like, pick it up, set a schedule for yourself, always look for what's going wrong with your videos and figure out how to improve certain things, because the first year it can be like triage, basically.
Never think you are safe.
And if you're not into it, if you don't think you're doing great, if you're not really into how things are turning out, quit.
Yeah, it's not for
before
everybody.
you go too far. Quit before you look back and you've been committed to it for 3 years, but not sure why.
Yeah, part of it is also, it seems like a dream job, but like I spend probably twice as much time working on my YouTube channel as I did when I actually had a job. So like, it seems like a dream job, but it's a stupid amount of work, and it's very inconsistent. Like, I was talking to some other YouTubers a couple days ago, and some of them were talking about getting part-time jobs because the views haven't been as good this year so far. So they're like, and for me, I don't need to worry about that as much because I kind of brute force views. But these are the guys that put out like, a couple highlightsy videos, and they're like, yeah, we haven't had anything like Scrap Mechanic lately, so it's
I'm just keeping my expenses nice and low until I'm real sure.
I was considering moving to Seattle at the end of the year, but I think I might hold off one more year just to, not.
I've been
it's an
going around
expensive
being
city,
a full-time
and every year
YouTuber.
it's getting more expensive. So
I think
you got to make sure you're ready.
Yep.
I think I went full-time with 20,000 subscribers, which shouldn't be possible, but it's...
Yep.
I'm working at it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what your guys' financial situations are, but like my rent for where I live is like $36,000 a year or something like that.
You're also in like a really expensive place. Like the place I was looking at is way to the north and way less risky.
True.
My air quotes rent is like $5,000 a year. Because I rent a room in a friend's house.
That's nice. Yeah, I'm
it's
I'm
working.
glad for
Oh my
you.
god, questions are coming today.
Oh,
all right.
Weird.
That's good.
Oh yeah,
Just
somebody
field questions because we don't have anything to really discuss in too much depth.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I would love to talk about how my coworker brought down the internet, but I don't think I should talk about that. Yeah, I don't know if I am really allowed to speak about that too much
because it's a good story, but I don't know if you can talk about
TLDR. Bird knows the guy that took out half the internet this past week.
Yeah, it happened on Tuesday.
Which is pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, people... It's not like it's an unknown thing. Like, it wound up on CNN, so it's not like they're hiding it. But,
yeah.
It is true that, like, anything I would talk about, I'd just be like, well, this is what I can say because this was already talked about on, like, our public releases.
It's just that weird thing where something's on the news and you're like, hey, that's that thing right next to me.
But, okay, this part's crazy. This part... So... yeah, so basically one of my coworkers, like, basically fucked the internet a couple days ago. And what really blew my mind was within about, like, I want to say by like 3 or 4 p.m., people on Reddit knew what the root cause of our problem was, which is a big deal because it means that people inside of our company were chatting to, like, outside of our company, like, what our systems are like and what our faults are and, like, why our systems were going down. So now, like, on top of, like, we had this really big problem happening, now, like, our competitors know, like, details about it. So my boss was, like, really, really pissed off when I told him that I found that comment. Everyone was like, oh god, this has got so much worse for us.
I had a real dumb moment on the internet recently where I was watching the news about the dam that was breaking down in California. You guys hear about that? Because it was kind of getting around for a while.
Bit. A little.
It was it's like the emergency spillway was eroded under and collapsing. And I was interested in this because, like, ooh, geology stuff. Like, I was going into the meat of the article and everything, reading up about it without paying any attention to its location. And I realized that it's, like, in the county. I realized, like, days later when they were evacuating the entire city that I was like, oh, it's right here.
It's always pretty funny to, like, hear a gigantic news story and be like, oh, yeah, that happened, like, close to me. Or, like, 3...
Yeah, it turns out the neighbor ate people.
3 cubicles down from me. Or, it turns out my neighbor was a murderer.
I keep hearing about, like, hate crimes, and I'm, like, reading it on the news, and then it's just, like, so-and-so Kansas, and I'm like, shit, I live there.
You don't live in Kansas.
Yeah.
I do.
I thought you lived in the other state next to Kansas.
Nope. Kansas.
The other state? That's called Nebraska.
There's a lot of things
Missouri.
next to Kansas.
Kansas City is smack dab between...
Yeah, I thought you were in the other
Kansas
part. I thought you were
Missouri.
in West Berlin.
Nope. Or in... Well, I am in West Berlin.
Shit.
Did somebody build a wall between the two halves of Kansas City?
Just feels like that. It just feels like the Reno 911 joke where they find out that there's a specific county line where prostitution is legal or illegal. So, and there's like a strip bar that's built on the line. So they're like policing on one side of the building, like that they can't do stuff on that side of the building.
I've never seen this. That sounds really funny. I should watch that.
That show's genius.
That show. The first, like, 3 seasons are horrendous. Just absolutely garbage. And then all of a sudden they found their funny bone. Or then they were like, oh shit, we've been billing this as a comedy the whole time. Let's make it actually good. And then, instantly it became incredible. Damn good show. So anyway, you have questions rolling in?
This one's really minor. Diesel Designs asks, he says he's never scheduled a video before and wants to know if scheduling hurts videos or how do you schedule. Scheduling has no effect on how videos...
It doesn't hurt the video.
Hold on. So Diesel Designs is actually like a successful YouTuber, so shout out to him.
What?
Like he's not a nobody. I know Diesel.
Wait, and he doesn't know how to schedule videos?
He just might not have ever had to.
Weird.
Yeah. But no, scheduling videos does not hurt it at all, though it makes it look a little bit weird on your end because YouTube will save the date it was put up. So if you're looking at, like, videos on your channel, it's going to be like, this came out 3 weeks ago, even though it's actually
like really confusing to look through, like the upload manager
and your
stuff.
Dashboard will have weird dates listed. But the video will still be treated like a normal video, and frankly, scheduling videos can make them come out in windows that are more advantageous to their performance if you have that kind of research available to you. Other than that, I don't know, if you can't schedule videos, like you do in the upload page, you just click the little drop down to change it from public to, like, scheduled and stuff like that. So if that's not available, you might have to become a YouTube partner or something. And you might not be that. He's got like 10, 20,000 subscribers, if not more. Dude, yeah, but you still have to click a button to do it.
Fair enough.
See, maybe he still hasn't done that.
No,
I don't know.
You have to be able to. You have to become a YouTube partner before you can monetize. So unless he's making zero money,
I don't know. People are crazy. Maybe he's crazy. I don't know him. Do you know him? How well do you know him? Oh no, the dreaded name has popped up.
Oh shit! Actually, he's got 96,000 subscribers. He's got a lot more than I thought he did.
What is the question? Is it like if you were stuck on a deserted island with one basketball, and then you had a canoe between you. Don't worry, this question's funny, lol. And then you...
It's another sentence that hurts my brain, so I think I'm just gonna have to say it out loud.
Go for it.
Here's a question from yours truly, PK Gaming. So the new Zelda came out, and so far everybody says it great without lying, and I have a question for ya. If you can make your own Zelda story that can be messed up or not, what would you set in line and all of that? Anyways, I'm done with the question now, so enjoy.
Hey, that was a lot more coherent than the previous question, so that's a good one. But if you could make up your own Zelda story, would you? I once saw some fan art of Zelda, like, tied up. And I remember as a kid, I was like, this is the greatest piece of fan art I've ever seen. So I'd write a story based off of that.
I would definitely love one where, like, Ganon's the protagonist.
So that game kind of happened.
Which one?
I was about to get to that as a segue too, which is that I was gonna say that I'd make a Zelda that acknowledges that you're just running around murdering everything all the time, but that game kind of exists already, because the first Neir is Zelda is about how the Zelda protagonist is the bad guy, basically. Mm-hmm. That's
interesting.
The thesis statement of what Neir is as a game and why it exists. Do we want to get into that? Like explanation of what the hell Neir was as a game?
I want you to do that once I've played some Neir, just because it'll make...
Well, you're never going to play Neir because you can't play those consoles.
No. I'm going to be playing Nier Automata. So, like, I kind of want to be in the mindset for understanding Neir.
That's confusing, though, because we have no idea if Automata will be in any way compatible story-wise, is what's confusing there.
They have a lot of references, apparently. I don't know.
But even then, that'd be a story. That'd be about things that exist in the world, as opposed to the mechanics of telling the story of this specific game. Because I don't think the Drakengard games worked like Nier did. Even like Nier is its own weird, isolated bubble. And if they tried to pull the same trick twice, that'd be super weird too, because it wouldn't work. Because Nier was basically Spec Ops: The Line. But came out first.
With like the big twist of like, oh, turns out you're the baddie.
Yeah, basically. Mm-hmm. It came out like 2 years or 4 years before Spec Ops: The Line. I think, let's see, 2012 was Spec Ops. Nier came out 2010. So yeah, 2 years before Spec Ops. Basically, it's a pretty straightforward playthrough for the first playthrough. It has a few unexpected character traits for certain characters in the party that make them colorful and memorable, and that's what kind of makes you gets you keep playing. But once you beat the game once, then Nier turns around and says, you should beat it again to get more of the story. And what happens is you play the exact same game. It starts off with a prologue for one of your sidekick characters that's just like a text adventure, like not even text adventure, it's just a book you're reading basically for a while that explains their backstory. But the main takeaway is that your side from that affects the rest of the story is that your side character is able to understand the enemies you've been fighting this whole game, but has been driven to kill them anyway and not say anything about that. So the second playthrough of the game is the same game again, but now all of your enemies have subtitles. And the protagonist still doesn't know what's happening, but the player can now understand what all of the enemies are saying that you couldn't understand the entire time. And basically, you're the monster, is more or less the takeaway.
Are all the monsters just saying, like, have you heard about our Lord and Savior Mario?
Yeah. Well, because the entire game is about you rescuing and saving your daughter that starts off sick and then eventually is kidnapped. So it's all you saving your daughter. In the Japanese version, it's your sister because you can play as a little teenage boy instead of like a 40-year-old looking man. But you're saving some girl in the most stereotypical like fantasy video game story of all time. And the twist is that in the second playthrough, it turns out that you're finding you get dedicated cutscenes for all the hopes and dreams of all the various people that are going to get killed over the course of the game, and you have them pleading for their lives and the lives of their children, all these other things while you're murdering them. And all you can do is keep murdering them because the protagonist can't understand any of this, and even though you know, the protagonist still doesn't know. And so it becomes this inexorable, like, bullying playthrough where you're obliterating all these horrible people, all these things that are in your way, just because you're so single-mindedly dedicated on your mission, which I keep thinking of that when I'm playing Breath of the Wild because I'm killing so many like things that are like people that use tools and cook food around fires and have sentries and like have clearly a society, and you just storm in and murder them and take their shit. But for all video games ever, that's treated as normal. And for Neir, that was the whole point, was to highlight that. And that's why it has a cult following, much like Spec Ops did. But it's one of those things where the only reason anyone would play it now would be because they heard about
the twist. Yeah,
like they have to hear about the weird thing to even have a reason to check it out in the first place. Because otherwise, it's some random Square Enix game from 7 years ago that never did well.
So you said that Neir 2 is coming out soon?
Nier Automata.
To it,
yeah, Nier Automata is like not even a sequel because they're not related.
They might be.
So they're not. I've been reading your Discord more than you have, apparently, because somebody got the Japanese version. It's like, yeah, there are references to it, but like very clearly not sequel.
It depends on from person to person how much it matters, probably. Kind of like how people would be like, that one Dark Link, the Dark Link you fight in that one Zelda game is actually the hero from Ocarina of Time, and you're killing them, and oh my god, or something like that. Like it might be that kind of stuff, but also it might just not matter. It's hard to say. I mean, the game was announced by somebody dressing up as a character from the first game, and that character apparently has some sort of impact in this game, but who knows what's going on?
Yeah.
It'll be hard to say until it's actually out for sure, but the important thing here is that it's published by not published. It's developed by Platinum Games. So this one's going to be a good video game.
The
first one wasn't. I'm looking at the reviews for it. It's like 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10.
So I will actually confidently say that Neir, the first one, is a bad video game. Like Spec Ops was a passable to mediocre shooter. Neir is a bad Zelda clone, or a bad RPG, or a bad hack and slash, whatever you want to categorize it as. It's not good at what it's trying to do. Its story is neat, and that's the entire reason it has a cult following, is the twist and the little reveals and like that little creativity to it of like calling out the protagonist of RPGs as being the villain because they.
Well, I think the only reason why
things.
The only reason why Neir was one or was good was because of Yoko Taro. Everything else about it was terrible. So like
all of Neir is just like button mashing combat versus enemies, and you unlock a couple spells, but immediately like one of them will be your de facto best spell. So you're basically just either meleeing or spamming that one spell for the entire game. But the game wants you to beat it 4 times, but then it keeps linearly increasing your power with experience, but nothing in the game scales. So it goes from being one button boring combat to being like monotonous, like one-shotting everything in the entire game combat, all the way down to the part where like you want to see the subtitles for the plot twist for various boss fights, so you're running away from the boss to not fight them so the subtitles can play out because you'll one-shot them.
I'm looking at the other games that were made by Cavia, as in Caveat Emptor, because all of it is just like, it's like anime adaptation video games and brawlers and stuff. It's like One Piece, Naruto, One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, Naruto again, and then like things like Sega Bass Fishing for the Wii. Everyone remembers that title. And Korg, a synthesizer for the DS. Sega Bass Fishing. I mean, yeah, because it's a port from a Dreamcast game.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. They didn't have to do much, they just re-released it.
It's a game that's memorable because it basically came with the Dreamcast, or at least a demo of it did or something. So like every Dreamcast player has played that game, pretty much. Doesn't mean it was a good idea, but I don't remember.
And I imagine a fishing game for the Wii is actually probably relatively satisfying for a fishing game, because you get to go like, and then there's a little speaker, so you could hear a really low quality like sound coming from the controller. I don't know. Every game that used that like speaker the speaker built into the controller, like the sound was always just like a blop sound.
Yeah,
it was never something pleasant coming out of the controller.
I'm trying to remember what game it was. I was playing something recently, I think, that was actually using the speaker on the Doesn't the PlayStation 4 controller have like a speaker or something like that?
Yeah,
there's a microphone and a speaker, right?
Yeah, so like I didn't realize it at first. There's this weird phantom noise that would just show up, and eventually I realized, oh, that's what
Your
I'm
speaker's
hearing.
like, hey, I like the way you touch me.
When you play Let It Die, when Mr. Death or whatever calls you on the phone, it comes out of your controller if it's not
that
muted.
was it.
Oh,
That's when I
Yeah.
figured it out. It was such a surprise because I'd had my PS4 for ages.
Probably
and
the
it was
coolest
just like,
use of
what?
that. Probably the coolest use of that was Transistor, which is that the character.
Oh,
that
interesting.
Because your sword talks in that game, and you're physically holding it. Your character's physically holding it in their hands, and if you had your speaker turned on, all of the lines would come out of your controller instead of the game.
That sounds
weird
actually
touch.
pretty awesome.
Yeah,
that sounds pretty cool.
I couldn't play that way though because I was recording, and
Right.
you don't want that. You don't want that. So, Bird, does this question mean anything to you? Somebody, Max Stovall asks, why did Amazon stop PayPal?
Why did
Does
Amazon
that mean
stop
anything to you?
PayPal?
Because I don't even know what the question means.
It's probably
even if-
just
Even if I knew the answer to that, I probably wouldn't say it because of legal reasons. Like, I was, a couple of weeks ago, I found myself talking about, like, I was speculating, like, on Twitch policies, and I had to stop myself and realize, like, oh, because I'm an Amazon employee, people are going to take, like, what I say way more serious than it actually is and, like, have a lot more impact on it. And then that can come back to bite me in the ass in a really big way. Because they won't like that at all. If I'm, like, speaking authoritatively on, like, my employer, it'll be pissed.
So how many more years, Bird,
so-
until you're involved in a big lawsuit like John Carmack?
Probably not that many.
You changed jobs, but you still had the same brain? How could you?
God, I'm not going to think about that, but because it will probably happen.
I am the ghost
some
of
point in my
Christmas
career.
future.
No, it will probably happen if I change jobs enough, and if I do enough high profile work, like that just is a thing that happens and it sucks. But
Happy
that's not here nor
times.
there. Yeah. So the point is, anyway, so Amazon killed PayPal because PayPal was looking at Amazon's woman the wrong way, and Amazon, they have a bit of a temper, right? So he shot PayPal because didn't want disrespecting Zappos.
Jesus. PayPal punched Amazon's girl and ran away with it, so Kindle and Prime had to punch their way through like 8 levels to get to her.
This is the worst fan fiction ever.
It's just River City Ransom, I think.
I was gonna say, like, it's just like, is Amazon a bad enough dude? Nothing personal, Fire Phone. Teleports behind you.
I was going to mention this last podcast, but I totally forgot, actually, as kind of a separate thing. Congrats, Keith, for hitting 30,000.
Yeah, congrats.
Yay! I did a thing, and you're about to hit, or did hit.
No, I haven't hit it yet.
Tomorrow,
Not
right?
yet.
People are doing a countdown in my Twitch chat and YouTube
weird.
chat. They're like, Wander, you're about to hit 100,000. I'm like, I'm aware. I've got a live count in the corner of my screen. I've had it up for the past week or so.
It has a dedicated monitor.
Tomorrow's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to the celebration.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I got to do some other things. I was gonna do an
sure.
AMA on Reddit just because I did one like a while ago, and probably just
Was
a
this
Q&A
on
for the channel as well.
You're
Play.
gonna do this on our Let's Play, right?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay.
Open it up to fans, but also just be like, hey, let's just let whomever respond that wants to respond and find out or ask whatever questions they want. I don't know.
Speaking of Q&A, I have a question
Yeah.
for Wander. I guess it's a question about Wanderbot.
Okay.
He's not allowed to answer it then.
Concave Sloth asks, do you think Wanderbot looks like Comic Book Guy?
No,
Do we know who Comic Book Guy is?
from The
From
Simpsons.
Simpsons?
Oh!
No, because
Wander's
Wander
not-
doesn't. He's
Wander's
not
not
balding.
balding.
He doesn't have a ponytail.
And he didn't draw
I got
like
a
a
pretty
bomb
intense
mouth onto his
widow-
face.
I've got a pretty intense widow's peak comparatively, but that's like
Yeah,
I don't
same
know,
here.
separate?
Mine's mine's getting so intense lately. I don't know what's happening. I'm not a fan.
Mine is okay. My brother's is like ridiculous. He had short hair the last time I saw him, and it's just like, man, your widow speak is extensive.
That's saying about your brother is like the worst thing, because all you're saying is about yourself in like 2 years, and you're like,
no, but I'm older than my brother. I'm not you. So like that's weird.
Point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe your brother just he I don't know.
I don't know.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I was going to say something stupid.
Genetics are weird.
Like,
hair is
stop
weird.
saying stupid
This
things.
is the first time I've ever noticed that comic book guy has like a zigzaggy angry mouth around his mouth. That's supposed to be his beard.
You never noticed that he has like a really, really bad beard
Yeah,
stubble?
like it's supposed to be his beard, but it just looks like that like Major Domo mouth or whatever.
Wow. Yeah, it is the Major Domo.
That's an experience. I don't think Major Domo is the right name for it, but the Domo.
No, Domo. Major Domo is a mail list service, but Domo is the one with the mouth.
Yeah, the fuzzy stuffed animal nightmare thing that looks like a cactuar.
I have that shirt.
Nice, but Major Domo is literally like you sign up to like receive coupons and stuff like that. Oh. That's what Major Domo is for.
It's the I give up on life button.
Yeah. All right.
Let's see.
So, any other topics that we want to talk about, or
I'm trying
questions?
to sort through questions because there's actually kind of a lot of them.
Oh yeah.
There's some of them are real bad, so I'm kind of skipping some of them.
That's good.
Let's see.
I've been season 2ing Dark
People
Souls 3.
People won't stop asking us For Honor questions, even though none of us play it.
Yeah. Well, it got really popular. It's just one of those where it's like, it's just such a nothing that we're going to play game that it's kind of
now people are asking us what team we're on. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I've been season 2ing Dark Souls 3 to try and catch up to play the DLC with you all. I'm up to the Abyss Watchers right now, but I'm trying to play it completely differently than I ever have before. So
Upside
I'm
down?
playing but I've always, every time I play Dark Souls, I like use like heavy armor and like a great sword and a shield and stuff like that. This time I'm playing through the entire game with no armor. I'm using the Cadius to parry, and I'm using the Mailbreaker. So, like, the complete opposite without going towards magic or miracles
so is your
or whatever.
Nude or just wearing like whatever like cosmetic items?
It's like pants. It's just whatever like happens when you don't wear any armor at all.
My go-to is basically to grab a rapier and start rolling.
Yeah.
But people get mad about that because rapiers for nublets or something.
That's what I'm doing now, and it's a completely different game because I can roll and I can attack things really, really fast, and it's a lot easier, in my opinion, honestly.
Well, that's because Dark Souls, like, Dark Souls 3 is much, much faster, so going slow and, like, having a really slow build is actually super detrimental to you, whereas,
Dark Souls 1 is so sluggish by comparison to the others.
It was sluggish. All the bosses were slow.
My entire first playthrough of Dark Souls 1 was tank, like full on like tank everything, and that's the hardest playthrough I've ever done.
Yeah.
It's almost self-sabotage at some point to try to stick to that strategy.
Yeah, because armor is useless. It's the most useless fucking thing in that game. It's like I can either dodge and take a shit ton of damage, or I cannot dodge and take a shit ton of damage.
It's just nearly impossible to beat people like Ornstein and Smo and be like, I'm gonna block their attacks.
How are you gonna block a spear that's like the size of the building that you're in anyway? Like, at least they got that part going for them. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if this is some sort of ongoing joke or something, but Joker Stalker asks, have we found out Durf's age?
That is an ongoing joke,
that's the thing, I guess.
That's 100%
he's the only person that
my fault.
We don't have even like the vaguest clue of how old he is. We've never asked, but
he's like he's a little older than us, I think.
What if he's actually
he's old enough to have his dreams crushed? At least that's what he told me.
Yeah, I know. For example, he's
he might be TLE then.
TLE's life has been improving from last I heard.
No, I'm just amused by the idea of like, what if somebody left and then came back and just pretended they weren't the same person? I'm secretly a completely different person.
Oh, that would be
no one
hilarious.
will notice.
That would be really funny if like gnomes came back and he grew out a mustache.
What if Effie was Pocket Pack?
Like, hello, my name is Stupid Elf.
You put on the vocal equivalent of a mustache.
Yes. Hello. We have never met before. That's a normal thing to say to somebody that you've never met before.
They also asked how long have Wander and Del been shading, what's their favorite game? Apparently you two have to share a favorite game.
Del been shading?
Dating.
I heard Delvin shading.
Did I say Delvin shading?
Yeah. So I guess how
right,
long
so
have you and Delvin shading?
Let's see. Well, it was sunny today, so maybe just a couple hours. Just a couple hours, really.
You want a Dell? And you keep it in the shade? That's smart. They had faulty fans.
But yeah, we've been together since 2010, so almost 7 years. Yeah. Wild.
You just barely beat us both to the door.
Let's see.
Hannah makeup?
We're going back to the System of a Down.
Let's not
you
go.
wanted to?
Let's not go that direction. Abort.
Oh, Wander always wanted to go forward.
Yeah.
Never wants
That's the only way I know how to go.
So tomorrow on your 100,000 stream, are you going to grab a brush and put a little makeup?
He did it. He did it. He said the words.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Somebody was going to say something before we derailed it like 3 times.
Horribly.
I don't remember who or
I don't.
What.
Yeah. It's okay.
You assume Durf is in his 20s. I have no idea. I think Durf is probably like around Wander and my age.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I'm fairly certain he is because he's seen Tokyo Gore Police, which is old and bad and generally kind of fits our age group or a little bit older. At least I saw it in college. So
speaking of other random people, I don't think I've talked about this too much, but Rockwar might he's interviewing to actually become my coworker right now.
Whoa,
he's got an interview coming up in 2 weeks.
Why is the world so small?
That'd be pretty exciting. Yeah, that's really cool, though. I hope he gets the job.
Apparently in a stream that did not involve us, Durf said he was 28. So,
Oh, come on.
Well,
we know.
He does have other friends than just us. So there's that.
Oh, come on.
We need to fix
that. Yeah.
I mean, I know he plays with Batbeard, like, more than us.
Yeah, speaking of weird small world people, it's realizing that he's just like my neighbor.
Or he was, yeah.
Yeah,
I was actually, it's like, if I'm ever in Mid-Cal for a convention, I'm probably going to visit both of you at the same time.
Yeah, it makes sense. He missed the chance. He didn't know us yet last time he came by.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I don't think he was YouTubing at all. Then.
Probably not. That was like 2012.
Yeah, his channel's not that old. So
Batbeard did not start seriously YouTubing until I brought him onto the show.
Right.
Like, he literally was just kind of doing it as a side hobby project. And then I'm like, hey, you seem cool. You can be in some of the videos. And he's like, oh shit, I actually need to like try now. And he said it was weird and stressful. And I thought that was hilarious.
We actually have a follow-up
else who are
earlier.
there. Oh, yeah?
The person that was asking about doing this as their job and stuff like that. They said, Wanderbots, I completely agree with the whole test out the YouTube thing on your own. I just need some sort of argument so I can convince my parents to let me go at it because they believe that gaming is a waste of time, like most parents do. And I kind of agree with the idea that you should do a job you like instead of being miserable at something else that pays well.
My parents were telling me that I should quit YouTube up until 10,000 subscribers. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is amusing thinking about all the times that I was told that I'll never use video games in my life and that I need to become a lawyer or something.
Yep.
Ooh, you don't want to do that.
Well,
one of the most talented lawyer friends I know hasn't been able to find a job for like 3 years, and he's just started a new job at Starbucks.
I had somewhat of a reputation of destroying people's arguments, which made people say that I should be a lawyer, but it sounded miserable. So no.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with getting a law degree is that the market is so saturated right now.
Because lawyers have so much exposure as a thing that people do, as opposed to geologists or other weird jobs.
It's so... There's so many people are like went into it in the past couple of years that it created just a huge labor glut. And as far as I can tell, like, it's... Everyone I know who's gone for law is absolutely miserable right now.
Yeah. But on the topic of the message, the question,
the actual
like,
question. We're not going to make an
right.
argument for your parents, okay? Like, yeah.
The thing about it is that your parents are right. Them. Video games are a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
But life is about just doing what you need to do to survive, and then choosing how to waste your time. So,
I mean,
it's a totally valid thing to do in your free time. But whether or not you can turn it into a job is super up in the air. Because, like, Bird's been doing it since, 2013? I've been doing it since 2011, and I went full-time this year. Wander went faster on that scale. Other people have been doing it for longer than I have, pre-2011, and are nowhere close to being able to go full-time ever. Like, it's you can't just work at it to make it better. It's such a chance thing that, like, it's not a safe bet for your future. Like, even me, when I was dedicating tons of time into it, I still applied for jobs, and I worked for a year in a cubicle, which I quit about a year ago. Like, I worked there for a year until I hit a point where I actually could do this full time, because you have to be a sane human being and make reasonable decisions, and then maybe you arbitrarily become some level of internet famous to make a job. But you cannot plan your life around this.
Yeah, the thing is, your parents are right. We're not going to convince them. I'm not even going to try. But ultimately, if you want to do it, like, you can make it happen, and you can just dedicate your time to it. Because, like, what are they gonna do?
Now's the time.
How are they gonna stop you?
You have 3 years where you can screw around and make videos without having to. At least, depending on your living situation, many people during this age group don't have to have jobs yet. So this is your lowest risk chance to try it. But also, because of your age, your age might hurt your ability to gain an audience at times too.
Yep.
Depending on what the audience is you're looking for.
Right. And the thing is, like, when your parents are, like, telling you, like, what to do and what not to do when you're 15, as long as I'm going to assume they're good parents. Like, you can just, like, at that point, it's starting to enter, like, this advice stage if you're 15, where it's like, well, I mean, what are they going to do to stop you from doing it? It's your free time. I mean, when I was, like, 15, my parents were still constantly giving me advice, but if I said, like, no, I'm going to do this, they were like, all right, whatever, have fun. It's not like you're 10 anymore, where you have to listen to them.
And my parents still give me advice every once in a while. I'm like, that's a dumb idea, and they back off on it.
My parents stopped giving me advice a couple years ago, and I weirdly miss it sometimes.
I do and I don't. There's nothing quite like being told, you should, like, get an office somewhere so you can have... people pay to hang out with you and do Let's Plays with you, like, just random
precious.
Fans. And I'm like, in no way is
what are
that...
you going to do, open a Hang Out With Me store?
Yeah, it's like...
That'd be funny.
It would be funny, but, like, the consequences of, like, having... people over, especially like say younger people, it's just like there's no way this
sign
would
a waiver
out.
Sign another one just to be sure.
I don't think
sign
waivers
one for Canada.
I don't think waivers fix that.
Shit, go away.
I'm gonna need police chaperones.
Yeah,
my parents don't really give me advice anymore, because I've at this point, like, done more, and, like, career wise, and, like, technically, like, the most successful of, like, my family. So they're just like, yeah, okay, you figured your shit out. Like, you go for it. Just keep doing whatever you do.
Every time I try to explain my job to my parents or how it makes money, the information is clearly dumped within 24 hours. So now they've just stopped asking. So the closest thing to advice is that every now and then, every 6 months or so, my mom will usually drop a hint, like, maybe you should go get a doctorate or something. You could maybe go back to school again, and that's about it. Right now, I think they're just happy that both their kids have jobs and live somewhere.
If you wanted to get a doctorate, I would wait. You have your entire life to do that, right?
Yeah,
like
I have
everybody
my entire
I know
life
that
to give up.
Yeah. Everybody I know that got a PhD did it after like not being in school for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
My brother's getting his doctorate right now, and it's definitely pissing him off.
Yeah, because it's getting a doctorate is bullshit. It's really hard, and it's not fun, and you're basically doing it. It's glorified, like kind of like academic bitch work, for lack of a better way to put it.
School
in the grand scheme of how those universities work and how research works, people that are getting their doctorate get no respect.
Yeah, like my brother is brilliant. Like straight up.
And I'm sure he's treated like shit.
He is. His advisor will just forget about a project, or be like, "Okay, you need to do this like now because we've got this like serious deadline, and it's really important that you get this done. Otherwise, this is going to reflect really badly on me and you and everything like that." And then the due date will come and go. And my brother's kicked his ass to all-nighters, all of the everything that you have to do to get a project done. And then his advisor will be like, "Oh yeah," and then forget about it. And then later be like, "Why didn't you do this other thing?" And my brother would be like, "You told me not to." And this is MIT. Yeah. So like,
if you want to get a doctorate, it better damn well be in something that you really are passionate about. Like, never feel like you have to do a doctorate, because that's the worst reason to do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, wow, this is like weird life advice.
Well,
stream.
People ask.
College gets real weird the moment you get a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
And people don't really tell you, really. Mm-hmm. Like, you go to high school, and then you go to college, and college is just grown-up high school, where nobody's really paying attention to whether or not you're doing the high school correctly.
College is high school for adults. That's all it is.
College is high school where you're not mandated to be there anymore, so if you stop paying attention and stop going to classes and totally flunk out of your own volition, no one will notice.
Right.
Is the main difference. But
did you guys ever have anything anybody talk about the Square Root Club?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
What the hell is that?
People whose GPA, the square root of their GPA is higher than their actual GPA.
Oh, right. For people who have like a below 1.0 or something like that. I have heard of that.
I knew a lot of people in the Square Root Club. They were very proud of themselves.
See, high school for adults.
Yeah. The interesting part
like
was
high school for children to me.
Yeah, they were very like proud of getting into the Square Root Club and then dragging themselves back out. And I was like, I have a like 4.0 or like close to it. Mm-hmm. I'm really happy about that. And they're all like,
the one thing about doing that specifically is that actually closes doors for you beyond just like you don't learn the material. But like if you have a bad GPA, you're basically screwing yourself out of like grad school, which to most people that's probably not a problem, but like it's just something to be aware about as you choose how you want to be a student.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, by the way, when I talked about things being weird the moment you have a bachelor's degree, is grad school's not even the same type of school.
It's completely different. First off, it's a lot better. Yeah. It's a lot. Grad school was so much better than undergrad. It felt like people actually started to kind of take you seriously again.
When I looked at the geology students, it looked like they were basically just choosing a research project and doing legit research work, basically, and field work, and it just wasn't school anymore at all, in a way.
Yeah.
And then they had to do a presentation at the end, which was like their defense of their big project they spent the last like 9 months on with almost no oversight, which is terrifying.
Yeah, getting my master's degree was actually, looking back on it, it was kind of fun. You know, because it's like you're kind of sandboxed into, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And this is like kind of like the Tinker Toy version of it before you get like totally wrapped up in it. even for a bachelor's degree, it's just kind of like you're still just like, okay, we're gonna hold your hand and like make you crawl through doing math and stuff like that.
From what I've seen so far of like physical science majors doing their master's degree, it's actually like it can actually really, really suck because these people can get wrapped up in like political issues. Like, and I don't mean like necessarily like government politics, but I mean like
academia is corrupt.
Yeah, academic politics where like you start getting into something that somebody else wants to take credit for now that's working above you. Like the people that are controlling your master's thesis are suddenly like trying to make their names for themselves off of your work and things like that. And then
didn't that happen to your brother, Wander?
My dad, actually.
Your dad, that's right.
Repeatedly.
His advisor kept stealing his work. Right?
No, not his advisor, his coworkers. He had one guy whose name was like straight up just Magic, which was a weird name. But this guy was working with my dad, and this guy went behind my dad's back, got a ton of government contracts, like millions of dollars, and more or less took all the credit for himself and ran, leaving my dad very much in the dust. And so originally I was like trying to figure out like game stuff, because I was like, oh yeah, what if I just like do some work with him, do some work with other people. And he just got like super angry at me, and my dad never gets mad because he's this like super mellow dude, but the moment he has to like share anything with anybody work wise, he like freaks out and doesn't want to do it because he's been screwed over so many times. It's just not worth it for him.
Yeah, I had to deal with a thing where I was helping on somebody's master's thesis because I was getting experience with a GIS, which is a relatively high intensity like mapping program that's really powerful. And
my dad worked with GIS when it was basically first being rolled out and computerized and stuff.
I spent like a year generating maps for somebody's master's thesis just for resume work, which led to me getting my job actually. And but so this person that was doing the master's thesis was investigating mercury seeping out of the mines around a local lake, and it was a twofold thing where one, she sort of hit pay dirt on it being like a relatively major thing to look into, and it was like stuff was going down to the point where like the people above her were all trying to take credit for elements of her work while it was happening. But also is creating controversy because she worked at the water board, and the findings were actually becoming a problem for her work there.
Oh,
because,
no.
Like they don't want them to get certain findings, and like it was actually becoming a problem there too. And it's like it gets weirdly real when you're getting a master's thesis in a physical science compared to just studying out of textbooks and getting your bachelor's.
Yes.
Well, physical science particularly is like it's the wonderful cross section of the corruption of academia meeting the corruption of local politics.
Yay!
So that's bad.
Yeah, I wasn't able to find a real job really out of my major that was particularly useful or had any real direction to it.
I mean, you just worked on Excel spreadsheets, right?
Yeah, it was not great. Interestingly, I also had my first chat with Splattercat, and he's in the exact same boat where he got a bachelor's with geology and it went nowhere. Period.
You mean to tell me you finally actually spoke with Splattercat?
Yeah,
we've been waiting for that moment for like 2 years.
Yeah, the night before the Switch came out, we just hung out and talked in Steam chat for like 2 hours.
That's
talking
cool.
about like getting a geology major and the field expeditions
We've never
we went
talked
on.
For 2 hours.
We found out we went to some of the same locations even during our like major capstone stuff. A place called Polita. All right, up next we have somebody basically asking 4 questions, but it's basically just one question being overcomplicated, which is just about your most and least favorite video game controllers.
Oh, controllers, huh?
I gotta say I hate the N64 controller more than anything else.
That's rough.
That controller was not comfortable.
This is weird.
Honestly, the Switch Joy-Con controller is ranking pretty low for me right now.
I don't like it, but
But it's too small.
Yeah, it's very small in my hands.
The bumpers are about 1/8 of an inch thick.
Yeah, I keep throwing my weapons by accident when I'm trying to fire a bow, or fire my bow when I'm trying to throw a weapon, and it's
I can actually hold this up to the camera.
Yep, and I almost did it.
Best game controller is the keyboard and mouse.
The problem with the Joy-Con controller is that my fingers are the size of the bumper and the trigger combined.
Yeah.
So like they're ridiculously tiny, and also my default holding position with my hands. My thumbs default to being about 1 inch closer to the center of the controller than either of the joysticks actually are. So I have to crunch my hands backwards to use either joystick. And also, all the buttons feel like shitty toy buttons. It feels like someone's crappy toy. It doesn't feel like a real controller. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting the Pro.
Like big red.
Yeah, I'm kind of not a fan. I'm not a fan of the controller, but I'm finding myself kind of okay with it just because I've played the 3DS.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of like get used to it if you've been playing the Game Boy, because it's effectively the same shape, just condensed down slightly more.
The original NES controller also is kind of painful to hold.
Yeah, because it's just
with corners.
It's like, oh wow, they made their controller sharp.
Yeah, I like the SNES controllers. Those were smart.
The SNES controller is wonderful for a very basic controller, but it really is comfy.
I think the best video game controller might be the Xbox One controller.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think the PlayStation 2 with the analog joysticks and stuff like that was just absolutely phenomenal.
For PlayStation, I'd probably pick the PS3 controller. I don't like the PlayStation 4 controller because the touchpad is kind of stupid, but more than anything, the start and share buttons are unpressable at times.
Yep.
They like completely flush the controller and you have to like click them, but like it feels like you're trying to press the little button that's hidden away in the back of a control. If like old electronics you have as a kid where you have to stick a needle into them to press the button, like it felt like that. It feels like pressing the reset button on stuff like that sometimes when it shouldn't be.
For me, I just hate that there's a share button period on my PlayStation, because like I will forget that the touchpad's there and be like, all right, now I'm gonna switch to the now I'm gonna pull up the map or whatever.
Yeah, and
then instead, what happens is I hit the share button and it's just like crap. Now what do I do? Because it pops up the screen, it pauses your game, or it doesn't pause your game. I love it when that happens. That happened once or twice when we were playing Destiny, and that was
man,
that was unfun.
I just Google image searched worst third-party controllers. There's some good stuff here. I'm gonna link this one I found in the Discord.
First party, you got the Duke.
Yeah, they managed to make the N64 controller a lot worse.
Was it a challenge?
Just
was
look
it a 24-hour controller jam? That looks like a spaceship from Star Wars.
Looks like an A-wing. My parents definitely had me buy some jankalicious controllers along the way, because my parents are legendarily cheap, so they're like, all right, so here's the N64 controller, it's $20-$30, or here's the Mad Catz controller for $10, and so we'd end up with the one with the extra buttons and the turbo controls that just don't work, and it's just like, oh well, okay, friends get this controller.
I'm digging the Super Pad 64. That's a pretty great controller.
Is this in the podcast?
Yeah, put in the podcast.
I had a friend who had the Super Pad 64.
Oh no!
I had to use that thing.
Just a sad paddle.
Oh, here's a good one. I will link this to you.
I will say the one good thing about the Nintendo controller right now is that at least the select button works, as in that it's a select button. You press it and a select menu opens instead of the share or the snap. Because while the Xbox One is probably my favorite controller right now, I hate that when you're using it on the Xbox, it does bullshit with the select button instead of what select used to do. Because I don't care about Xbox One or PS4's new things that they decide to map to what used to be the select or back button. I feel like they're only a nightmare when you accidentally press them and you're like, no, undo it. Yeah, you linked us a Nightmare Nickelodeon controller.
Here you go. One more bad controller, then we'll get off the topic. No, I'm pretty sure this is Photoshop.
Yeah, now Bert's linking Siamese Nintendo 64 controllers where it's just two 64 controllers mashed together with solid plastic in the middle, like the tandem bicycle of Nintendo 64 controllers.
Yep.
Most of it just reminds me of trying to play Dive Kick, where you can play Dive Kick with a shared screen on the PS Vita because it's a 2-button game. So one of you would press left and down, and one of you would press X and circle.
Did I ever tell you that the GoldenEye 64, one of the controllers, you had different controller modes. One of them actually used 2 controllers for 1 player.
Yeah, I've heard about that for sure.
It was actually the best because it had the modern strafe on one and look on the other.
But it's like a nightmare solution.
Scheme, but it was like so hackneyed that you had to like.
It's like playing DDR on double.
Yeah.
But for least favorite controller that I've actually owned, because there's I could think of worse stuff like the Philips CDI, but the worst controller I've ever personally owned and used was the Wiimote.
That thing's awful. I don't know. I like the Wiimote.
I don't. I agree with them. As far as like mainline console controllers, I can see the Wiimote being pretty bad.
1 and 2, and they're in a horizontal line from each other, and there's a trigger and a giant A button, and it has shitty motion controls that don't work very well.
That's absolutely true. The Wiimote without the nunchuck when you're holding it sideways.
Oh yeah, that's horrible.
One of the primary ways of using it is like a NES controller.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever see the what was it? Or did you ever play the Kirby games, the like co-op ones on the Wii?
No.
It was so hard on your hands because those 1 and 2 buttons have kind of that sharp plastic around them, and so if you press them too hard, the sharp plastic will press into your fingers, which I mean generally isn't that big of a deal, but Kirby, you're pressing those buttons a lot for a while, especially for like an endurance co-op session. So by the end of it, I had like little red angry rings of pain around, like on my fingers. That's part of the reason why I don't like the Xbox
I can confidently
360
say
controller.
I've never had an extended Wii session on any game, period.
Unfortunately, I would because it was my only console for a while.
Yeah. I never found a compelling gaming experience that had me stick with it for longer. But admittedly, I never played any Mario. Yeah, I never played any Mario or Zelda on a Wii.
Yeah, Galaxy's fun. I don't know. The Wii Sports was actually kind of fun.
Yeah, Wii Sports was fun, especially like for birthday parties and stuff.
The golfing on Wii Sports was horrible.
Yeah.
That was by far the worst. But the Wii Sports Tennis was really, really fun.
Oh, man. Story. So the Wii had just come out, and my friend and I were going to have a LAN party, or he was hosting a LAN party or something like that. And I apparently got the day wrong. And so I show up at his place with my laptop and, my bag full of stuff and whatever. And he answers his door, and he's just... well, no, he doesn't answer his door. His mother answers his door. He's too busy to answer his door, even though he's right next to the front door. And I walk in, and he's like, sup? And I look over, and he's just in tighty whities and a shirt. And this is like a 16-year-old? Something like that. We were in like kind of high schoolish. And he's playing Wii Tennis, so he's like dancing back and forth. And I'm like,
oh, God.
I got the day wrong, didn't I? And he's like, yep, it's tomorrow. I left. I didn't want to stick around and play Wii Tennis with him. I didn't want to play with his Wii. And
you're truly a wordsmith there, Wander. Really.
After that, I was just like, I don't think I really want to go over to this guy's house because that was really weird.
I'm just picturing as you leave, he's like, Mom, give me some
pocket.
snacks, bitch.
Mom, bathroom. What is the hardest Dark Souls boss you have ever fought? Says Gavin Mortar. For me, it's Ludwig, which you guys don't know what that means, but that was fucked. That was real fucked.
Dark Souls boss.
Actually, the newest one was really rough too. The boss you guys haven't seen yet. That's the final boss of the DLC that we'll hopefully get around to. It's pretty fucked, and playing it in co-op, you will not realize how fucked it is, but you'll get some of it.
Honestly, this is kind of a weird answer, but I want to say the Taurus Demon. Like,
Taurus
really,
Demon.
like,
if you're
so
going into
fucking hard.
Yeah,
and then after I beat him, I was like good at Dark Souls enough to like get through the rest of it, and the whole game got like kind of like an even amount of difficulty.
So the hard thing about Taurus Demon is that it's a whole level. It's the first time where you have to go from bonfire through several dangerous areas all the way up to a boss fight that you have to take down and have that all be in one good run. So that's a learning experience for every Dark Souls player that didn't start with Demon Souls.
Right. That's basically what it boiled down to. Like, it wasn't like there are objectively way harder bosses, but you're a better player when you get to those and you like go through them just fine. Or your expectations are set to where you like know what to do to like win. Whereas the very first time you fight the Taurus Demon, if you're not like ready for it, you're just like, oh, this game is actually impossible.
It's like how the Dragon Rider armor is objectively harder than Eodex Gundyr, but you're way more likely to have trouble with Eodex Gundyr because he's the first thing that happens in Dark Souls 3.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what my answer boils down to.
Mine was a scary horseman.
Oh yeah, the skeletal chariot ruined us repeatedly.
No, it's not different.
I don't know. I was just thinking about it.
He has
the skeletal champion.
Interesting. So since you guys don't know yet, so
well, I mean, we're gonna be playing the DLC soon.
No, it's a Bloodborne boss.
Oh.
Yeah, we should.
So the Bloodborne boss Ludwig, it's a boss it's a two-phase boss that starts as a beast boss, which I already struggle with in Bloodborne because it's hard to tell what they're doing sometimes. Then he turns into I'm gonna hit you with a big weapon boss. And so you have to learn two completely different movesets to whittle down 2 entire health bars in order to beat the...
You're basically fighting 2 bosses back to back.
And multi-phase bosses are always the hardest.
Yeah. I'm going to be totally honest. Everything about Bloodborne was hard for me.
Yeah.
I kind of prefer the slow, methodical.
But I feel like nothing is harder.
Definitely weren't.
Nothing is harder than like having to learn one moveset, then something else happens midway through the fight where they change to a different boss, and then you have to do that one, and then when you, in order to win the fight, you have to finally pull off a run where you pull off the switch between 2 different play styles seamlessly, and actually have 2 good runs in a row, basically.
I'm trying to remember what game this was. I don't think this was Dark Souls, but any game where the boss has a very definitive pattern, and then they get faster. So you learn the pattern, and then they like pick up in speed once or twice, and you're just like, all of my timing is gone already. And
it's like what it is in Wings of VI.
They did that in
those bosses are totally like that.
They did that in Dark Souls 2, actually. The Smelter Demon was a boss that destroyed people in the first playthrough and caused a lot of people a lot of trouble. So by the time you finally beat it, you pretty much memorized the timing of all of its rolls that you had to do, and you got burned into your brain. Then you get to the second or third DLC where there's a blue Smelter Demon that has different attack timings, but the same attacks. And it ruins you.
Yep. That sounds awful.
It's so hard for reasons that are hard to articulate in the moment, but it's like, it's because you reflexively do all the timing based on the other Smelter Demon that you practiced against.
Alright, well that's about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, good podcast.
About 2 hours.
Anyway, Wander, I would buy a PlayStation 4, but I don't have a TV.
Did we do the last question so they're completely clean, or should we stop it? Let's see.
Yeah, let's flush it out.
The last question we have in our backlog right now is, do you prefer a bigger audience that you almost can't interact with, or a small one that you can? From Igo Santos?
I mean, one makes more money, one's a lot more fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna be totally honest.
Down to.
This is part of the reason why I've got like a Discord on lockdown instead of opening it up purely, because that way I can actually interact with some people.
Yeah.
And I'll invite people kind of randomly, because if I opened it up to everybody, I'm sure it would be just a cesspit that it was like for a while.
Yeah, it's starting to clean up.
Yeah.
But it literally boiled down to us like kicking out like tons of people over time.
But the sad reality is just gotta pay bills.
Yeah, like a bigger audience means life is literally better. But yeah, as far as the audience interactions go, it's really hard to articulate, and you don't really get this, you don't really understand this till you have one on YouTube or Twitch, just how nebulous an audience can be in concept. Like, it mostly boils down to, like, there's certain names you learn to recognize over time, and those are the people that come to mind when you think of your audience.
Yeah, but then they go away, and then after a couple months, you forget that they ever existed.
I
and there's also
remember
like
a number of them, but yeah.
There's often hundreds or thousands of silent people, or people just drifting in and out constantly, and Like, somebody can be a member of your audience forever and you don't really know they exist, and there can be constant people that you can remember somebody that only just came in for one video and said a thing and then left, and they never subscribed and they were just commenting on something at random. Like, so much of our reviews come from random people just encountering our videos that aren't even necessarily our audience, and that's so much of our comments in many cases that it's actually hard to tell who to even count as your audience in the first place. I don't know.
So, yeah, I guess that's probably a pretty satisfactory
I just like
answer,
having
right?
better people to talk to than the people that aren't good to talk to, is really the answer.
Yeah. I mean, a community improves not by numbers, but by getting better people in it.
Yeah.
And you can't... Like, one thing that I've been kind of learning is that, like, even if you kick out, like, bad people from your community, if you don't have good people, you just wind up with nobody.
Yeah.
And that's still very necessary. Like, absolutely, you want to if people are dragging your community's quality down, kick them out.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily lead to the community improving. All it does is prevents people from leaving that are good contributors, because they're not constantly pissed off at the douchebags.
It is one of those things where, like, I have zero hesitation for immediately shadow banning people that just show themselves as being shitty people.
Yep.
Because they will just make everything worse. And then they'll find other people like them, and they'll all make it worse collectively. And, like, pruning them continuously... And then all the good people get
pushed out immediately.
Yeah, like, pruning them continuously
good contributors
is the only
are
way to make
flighty.
things better.
They're really flighty, because people have no patience for, like, assholery, but assholes have infinite patience.
Yeah.
So it's you have to kick people so aggressively. Otherwise, like, your good contributors leave like that. They just are gone.
Oh yeah, if you're around my size or Wanderbot size, and if you're watching people those size, and you're commenting on their videos long term for months or years, and like, not being a total shitbag, and also not being like
thank you.
Like, if you're
Jeez.
like if you're
it's
like
the best thing you can
if
do
you're
for
actually
us.
leaving thoughtful comments and stuff, like, even if it doesn't feel like it, we remember you actually.
Yeah.
Like, we both have, I'm sure, people that come to mind as like the people that they like in the audience, basically.
Yes.
And
yes.
Oh yeah.
That's just, some people are better to get notifications from than other people sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you were going to say something, Wander?
I actually remember my, like, original fan. He showed up more or less with it was either Binding of Isaac or Tower of Guns or something, but he left
Probably
a comment on literally every video of Amalur and Tower of Guns and stuff like that. And every once in a while, he'll still leave a comment on one of my videos, and I'll be like, "Aw, you!" And then he goes away for a while, and I'm kind of sad because he was such a positive influence on, like, early channel me that I don't know.
Then again, you let some real douchebags hang out for way longer than I thought you would before eventually getting rid of them. I won't name names.
Nah, not
but
really.
I know Keith knows exactly who I'm talking about.
Probably.
Yes.
I've interacted with some of them. I will say that a Twitch audience is easier to measure as an audience than a YouTube audience.
Very much so.
Yeah, Wander's Twitch chat is definitely like right now, I think it's in a pretty good state. Like, every time I go in there, I have a good time. I have good conversation. People are generally positive and contributing very well. So whatever the Twitch chat is currently doing, and the people that are moderating it, like, I think the results are showing. It's also
like the difference between having a bunch of, like, thousands of YouTube videos where just completely random scattered comments happen all day, every day, versus a unified chat room that people have to hang out in live. Like, it's such a different context.
Yeah.
At the very least, you can have a better awareness of their existence than the cloud of names that come at you on YouTube sometimes.
Yeah.
I was going to say one other thing. My YouTube chat for a while had role-playing going on, and I finally had to kill that, because I was just like, it was fun.
Nothing
it was
personal,
fun originally.
Wanderbots. Teleports behind you.
It was fun originally, but it was also one of those where people would be like, why does Wander never read, like, YouTube chat? And I'm like, Because
it's
nothing
noise now.
Because 80% of it is just like
irrelevant.
While you play video games, I studied the blade.
Why aren't you reading my live journal that's being posted in your YouTube chat?
Yeah, so I was just finally like, I can't do this, especially if like I start getting 200-300 people watching, because I know there's a number of people that probably want to actually talk and interact with me. Later.
Just give him a role play subsection on your Discord, and
I did.
Then
We did.
then mute it.
And we had to kill it because
no. There's a new private one not attached to. Like I have 2 Discords now. One for roleplay.
That's
Yeah.
confusing.
one for roleplay.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Why? Why did
they wanted it?
I set up a role-playing sub-channel and just muted it, and I've never looked at it.
Why don't Jesus? Why set up a Discord at all? Just tell them to install like.
Why don't
Notepad
they set up their Discord?
Right? Like, why did you do it?
Anyone can make a Discord.
Do they want you to read it? Do they want you
This
to
is
watch?
Wanderbot's official role-playing server. He doesn't
I guess. I don't know. I'm just letting them do what they want. As long as things don't get weird again, I don't care.
That's
but
like
this
the
way,
equivalent of
like-
having a guild based around being a fan of a YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel isn't a person that plays that game.
Isn't that what happened with the Game Grumps?
Kind of, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
Or
No,
actually,
well.
like almost every game they play has something like that happen to them. That's funny as shit, Wander.
Yes.
That's amazing that you have a separate. I almost want to get invited, but I know I don't want to.
Every now and then, all you can do is dwell on what the fuck our lives are.
I go on there every once in a while to read mod chat, but I've got like every other sub channel muted.
Why
and I
is it
feel bad about it, but
moderated?
I don't have time.
Who's moderating it?
The
Where they'd be
role-playing
like,
mods.
no, you can't. You. Oh,
Man,
God.
I don't know.
Like, you don't
Let's talk
have a
about
sword
role-playing
because
a
you
different
didn't.
day.
You didn't say you had a sword until it was convenient. And that's against the rules.
No, I had a rule force field.
Oh,
We gotta cut it.
rule
we gotta
force
cut it.
field.
It's going,
See you guys
it's
next
going
time.
bad.
Send your questions to FourNerdsQuestions@gmail.com. We'll probably
Better
get to
than a
them,
Rule
except
30.
the stupid ones, like the ones I
Could be-
posted in Discord.
Could be worse.
So
Could be
we'll
rule
either
34
answer your
force
question
field.
or we'll laugh about your question behind your back. Yeah.
Yeah. Those questions you just linked were pretty stupid.
Yeah, those were awful.
They're basically our version of how do you type with boxing gloves on your hands.